guys, and welcome back to my channel, or if you are new, welcome. I'm Mand. So in today's video, I feel like it has been a hot minute since I have recorded, but I am back after taking a week off just to gather myself. And we are going to get stuck into another video for our Haunted Ireland series. And it's not so much a haunted one as such or paranormal. This one is actually about the first witch trial that was held here in Ireland. I didn't realise that was a thing here, so you learn something new every day. This was super interesting to look into. It took quite some time to actually get all the information and kind of put together the whole lot, because there is quite a lot in it. So if you care to learn a bit more, please do sit down, grab a cup of tea or coffee and maybe a snack, because this is quite a tale on the first witch trial that was ever held here in Ireland. So let's get stuck in. In 1324, Richard Ledred, who was the Bishop of Ossory, believed that there was an increase of devil worshippers in his diocese. Now, the one that was accused was a woman called Alice Kyteler. She was a very wealthy Kilkenny woman who was accused of witchcraft by her stepchildren. And it was the first witch trial that treated the accused as heretics. So, who was Alice? One thing to note here is Alice Kyteler has quite an interesting background, especially when it comes to marriage, because she had been married quite a few times. In 1280, she married her first husband, who was William Outlaw. Now, he was a very wealthy Kilkenny man who was a merchant and a moneylender. Now, she had a son with him who was also called William Outlaw. So take note of that first. By 1302, Alice had already married her second husband, who was Adam LeBlond, I think is how you pronounce his name, and he was also another money lender. Now, by 1307, he had given William, who was Alice's son, all his goods. I can't think of the word of it right now, but he gave all his possessions to William so that any debt that he had owed to William was paid off. Now, another thing to note here is that Adam had his own children from, I think, a previous relationship or marriage. So now we can see why these accusations came about of Alice. By 1309, Alice had married her third husband, Richard Duval, who was a Tipperary landowner. So again, her son benefited financially from this marriage. Now, by 1316, before Richard had passed away, before he died, Alice took legal action against her stepson, Richard. Yes, there's a lot of names that have been passed on. But she took legal action against her stepson because he was withholding her widow's dower. In 1324, this is when Alice was accused of witchcraft, because she had married her fourth husband, who was Sir John Lepore, P-O-E-R. I don't know, I'll put the name up here. But she had married him. And just before he had passed away, because he became quite sick, he had expressed his suspicions of being poisoned. And this is when his children, so Alice's stepchildren, and the stepchildren from the two previous marriages, decided to take action against Alice and claimed that she was doing sorcery and, of course, in favouring her own son, William. Now, we can understand to obviously some extent why her stepchildren made these accusations against her, because she had become quite wealthy at the expense of her stepchildren, and of course her son benefited financially as well from these marriages. So The only conclusion that they could come up with was that she was practicing witchcraft for her own gain. In the late 13th century, the church viewed witchcraft as heresy or devil worship. So they believed that anything that was practiced outside of the church, or that wasn't approved by the church, I should say, it was wrong and that they shouldn't do it. And they didn't see it as really just a magical ritual more than anything. But again, like I said, the church at that time believed anything that wasn't approved or said by the church was heresy or devil worshipper. So Alice didn't really stand much of a chance, did she? Alice's stepchildren brought their complaints to Richard le Red, who was, like I said at the start, the Bishop of Ossory. Now, he was a very narrow-minded churchman, and he kind of took his duties very serious. Now, there was 7 charges brought against Alice. Now, I won't say all of them because they're actually quite dark, but you can, well, to a certain extent, they're kind of dark, and I don't want to put it all out there, but definitely Google it, look it up yourself, because some of them are quite interesting. So one of the charges against her was defying Christ and the church. Another one is that they stole the keys of the church and held meetings there. And of course, the other charge was that she was practicing witchcraft and basically influencing her husbands to leave all their possessions to her and her son William, so that they could obviously be financially better off and that there was nothing left for the stepchildren to inherit. Now, the legal side to this is actually quite lengthy and there's a lot to it, so I won't really include it in this video. If you do want to look it up, I just suggest looking up on Google. But kind of a short version really is the bishop tried to get Alice arrested, but that didn't work because she had powerful friends, and he ended up getting arrested, and in that meantime Alice was able to flee. So after a couple of months of a stalemate, one of her servants, Petronella de Meat, was actually arrested. She was tortured and she confessed to practicing witchcraft with Alice, and it's really sad because her testimony wasn't really reliable as such, but they went on that confession anyway, and you will see soon why. Petronella's testimony did implicate Alice of performing heresy. Now, there was some concerns about her confession because of her credibility. It's now believed that she may have suffered an ergot-induced fever dream. Ergot poisoning actually was quite common at that time, and it's normally from ingesting alkaloids produced by a fungus that infects rye and other cereals. Petronella would have believed she had seen these events because she was hallucinating, but in spite of all of this, her testimony in this trial led to her death. She was flogged and burned at the stake on the 3rd of November 1324, accused of witchcraft and heresy. She was the first person to be burnt at the stake for these crimes, and also the first one to be sentenced to death for heresy. Now, you're probably wondering, where is Alice in all of this? Well, it's believed that Alice actually fled to England. After that, there is not much records of her anywhere. The bishop, of course, carried on his accusations against her acquaintances and tried to bring them to justice. Now, guys, that is the tale of the first witch trial that was ever held here in Ireland, as far as I know. So, what do you think? Do you really think Alice was a witch and fled to England to practice more and probably marry again? Who knows? Or do you think it was just her stepchildren were super jealous of her wealth and really just wanted to inherit it? Either way, it's a really interesting story. It's quite long-winded, of course, but it is really, really interesting because I had never heard of this before until I actually started looking into it, and I couldn't believe it. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Of course, if you do love this video, please give it a thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. As always, if you like my channel and maybe like to hear these kind of tales or whatever else that I post, it tends to vary, please do hit that subscribe button and also hit that bell because you'll be notified when I upload. Of course, as always, sending you so much love and light your way, guys. I hope you have the most amazing day ever, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, guys.